People aren't just out here just telling you you're amazing for no reason. And I know that's not a popular thought, but I'm telling you, living in this body for 40 years, living in this experience, you don't just get compliments like that. There can be a silent reward system for your assimilation. If I have a good idea and I speak out of turn, now I'm talking over people. I can't curse because now I'm ignorant. It's just so many rules to being a black boy. So many things you can't do before you're perceived to be a threat. The main thing that I want to talk about today is something that you see on your timeline often. You hear people talk about it, you hear people judge folks about it, but we don't really get into the minutia of it. And that's masking. I myself have been guilty of masking. You hear people talk about people pleasing. Oh, you people pleasing, no, you fake, you masking. It's so much deeper than that, y'all. It's so much deeper than the idea of pretending to be somebody that you're not. It's not that. Let me give you an example. So before I started doing social media full time, doing the content creating, the influencing and all of that, before I was a therapist, even before I was a personal trainer back in the day, I used to be an educator and I worked in schools. I worked in schools with kids that had some real big challenges, man, behavioral, economic challenges, you name it. These kids just had a lot of barriers in between where they were and where they wanted to be. And my goal was to help eliminate the barriers. And I did my absolute best. I failed a lot, but I helped a lot of people too. And after I worked in the school, I worked at the state level of education. I worked at what would be like the corporate office of education. And I worked at special education. And this was my first job. When I was working in the school, I was making $35,000 a year. And it wasn't that long ago. I was barely paying my bills. I was doing the work of the Lord, but I was a broke man. Do you understand? I was making no money. I made so little money teaching that I used to... I had like $10 in my account and I just overdraft that joint and fill up my tank because I know I'll get paid the next day. It's like, look, I ain't got enough money in my account to fill my tank, but they're not going to stop Exxon. You feel me? So I was struggling. This was my first job when I worked in big education where I made 6 figures and I had a baby on the way. It was just a lot of pressure on me to perform. So I get the job and it's good and it's great. And when I get there, I realize something. I kind of feel like they did me a favor by hiring me. I ain't gonna hold you. I was in that joint not being the person who I am, but I kind of shifted into the person who I thought they wanted me to be. Does that make any sense? I was around people who had more education than me. I was around a lot of white people who I haven't worked with a lot of white people before. And these were like super educated, liberal white people who just had a lot of words. And my first meeting there, I felt like it was going 1,000,000 miles per hour. I had no idea what was going on. I was smart, but I jumped in the water that my body wasn't acclimated to. And man, I just got in that joint. Next thing I know, I'm not talking like this. I'm like, yeah, well, if you look at the projections from last season, what you will find is that the ROI and the synergy really coalesces to the ethos of hey, bro, who are you? What is that? What is that you're doing? And it was a form of masking. And why was I masking? Well, I was masking because I'm from the projects. I'm from the projects of DC, and this is how I talk. I was code switching and I was masking. And I was code switching and masking because I felt like me, the authentic me, yeah, what's up, bro? Oh, yeah, oh, that's cool for sure. Yeah, all that, woo, woo, woo. I felt like that wasn't acceptable in that place. And my masking and my code switching was a self-protective mechanism to make sure that I didn't fumble that bag because I was making 6 figures for the first time. So one thing I want to talk about in this episode is not just this idea of masking and code switching, how it's somehow a betrayal to your authentic self, because that's bullshit. That's not true. I want to talk about why you do it. I want to talk about when you do it. I want to talk about why it helps you. I want to talk about why it doesn't help you and some of the things you need to look out for. And I also want to talk you through it. What now? On social media, we always talk about the problem. We good at highlighting the problem, man. Yeah, what we need to do is, and and we just spinning the problem around. We spinning it around and we don't come to any reasonable, actionable solution. And I want to stop that right here, right now. So let's jump into that. But let's back up a little bit. Let's define masking and code switching plainly so that you understand. Because just judging something don't teach anybody how to navigate through it. You just make people feel worse about something they can't change. So masking is when someone hides how they really feel, think, or naturally act in order to fit in, feel accepted, or avoid judgment. So it's the way that you're oriented towards society so that you can fit in and be accepted and be a part of the herd. Because as much as we are individuals and individualistic and all that is cool and fine, kind of the basis, the bailiwick, the central theme of humanity is community. And when you get kicked out of the pack, you know, the wolf that gets kicked out of the pack has a lower chance of survival. That's not just wolf mentality. That's any civilization, any society where group membership is a central theme, and humanity is like that. Group membership is important. Think about all the different groups you belong to. All right, now an example of like masking is smiling and saying I'm good when you're actually overwhelmed. If you're a parent or a newlywed, you understand that very well. Like if you are a teenager that has a parent that loves you very much and they love you so much that they feel everything you feel, and it ain't about your feelings no more. It's about them feeling like a bad parent. You learn how to go, I'm fine. A lot of us mask that way, and we're not doing it because we're on some self-betrayal humiliation ritual. We do it because we think that we're protecting ourselves in a moment, even when we're not. So a simple way to say that is just masking is when you cover up yourself and your true feelings and your true thoughts and sometimes even your true ambitions in order to not shake the table or ruffle feathers. Masking helps you go along to get along, which gets a bad rep. But when you're a part of a group, whether you got coworkers, whether you married, whether you got a whole bunch of rambunctious siblings and y'all trying to put together this dysfunctional ass family reunion, going along to get along kind of helps things. It helps the process move. So it's not always a bad thing, but anything that you do in access can be a bad thing. So code switching is different. Code switching is when you change the way that you speak, act, or dress, especially the way you present yourself. And all of that is dependent on who you are around. So with me, I do code switch. I code switch a lot. I promised myself I wouldn't do this on this podcast. I find myself doing it when I do content sometimes. My S's become a little bit sharper. You see, I won't say sharper. Sharper is how I talk. That's my DC accent. But if I'm doing brand content and these people are paying me a good amount of money to represent this Fortune 500 company, I might say sharper, faster, smarter instead of sharper, faster, smarter, harder. I know who my audience is, and it is an acceptability thing because in my mind, I have a complex from growing up and living in the projects that people think you're not as smart when you don't speak a certain way. And that's something I constantly got to battle in my head all the time. All the time. It's not something I'm over. It's something I'm constantly butting my head up against. Why? Because the world reinforces that idea every day, one. And two, my culture is not the dominant culture. And the dominant culture typically has all the power. And with all the power comes all the access to economic resources, aka money. You got all the money, and you don't want the people who control the resources to think that you're not worthy of the resources. So what do? You switch the code. But also, I'm a licensed professional. I know everybody on social media giving mental health advice. First off, they don't know what they're talking about. Like, be careful with who you listen to. But also, I'm a licensed professional. I've done hours and hours and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on education and training in order to be able to do this. Not just off some bro science, but actually know what I'm doing and have the skill set and feel confident in what I'm doing and that approach. So I got to answer to a governing body. I can't just say anything any way I want. And sometimes when I'm around them, I do code switch. Therapists have a way that we talk to each other when we're around each other, for sure. I want you to think about whatever field you work in, whether it's IT or construction or wherever you at. Think about the way you talk with your colleagues versus the way you talk with your homies. I'm different when I'm on the PS5 and we in the game and I'm playing Madden with somebody. I talk cash shit. It's a totally different way of talking than when I talk to my wife. I talk to my wife different than I talk to my children. I talk to my children different than I talk to the producers for this podcast you're listening to. You have to switch not who you are necessarily, because you're not switching who you are. Who you are is varied. You know, you exist on a spectrum. You're never just one thing. So I don't want you to look at it like you're changing who you are. You're changing how you approach shit. That's very different. You're being mindful of who you're talking to, how they interpret you, and what this interaction may do for your future opportunities, whether they be romantic, whether they be economic. Think about it like this. How do you talk to somebody on the first date versus how you talk to them once y'all been in a relationship for 3 years?